Hello everyone, this is your friend Mohammed from TechLatest.net, where we provide latest trends in technology. If you want to be notified with all new products and videos and other updates, please subscribe to our mailing list at techlatest.net/subscribe. Or you can go to our website at techlatest.net, click on subscribe and provide your email ID. In addition to our email list, you can also follow us on our Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and GitHub accounts. Thanks a lot. Welcome to the second part of our Ripple APIs. In the first part, we looked into how to connect to the server, how to query the ledger information, and how to perform some transactions. Actually, we did not perform any transactions. I just give you overview. Now, in this part, we are going to talk about various types of transactions. So, in our last session, we mentioned that, I mentioned that a transaction is the API call, which changes the ledger state, right? Wherein something is written into the Ripple ledger. So what are the different ways you can alter the state of the ledger? So those are the transaction types. And again, on the slide, you see that there are hyperlinks. Okay, so all the things you see in blue are hyperlinks, which directly point to the respective information on the Ripple website. Okay, so the transaction type. So if you click on the link, it will take you to the Ripple website where you can see the different transaction types. Okay, so we'll go through each of them. At this point, I will just give you overview of the transaction types. Down the line, we are going to work on, if not all, then most of these transaction types, and during at that time, then we will get into more details about what these transaction types are. But if you want to explore them, this is the link, and then you can go and explore them further. So if you see these transaction types, I group them together based on how they are related to each other. So the first one is account set. Using this transaction, you can set various flags or properties of an account. As you might recall that an account basically consists of various different things. It has an address, it has associated balance, and apart from that, it has a lot of other attributes. It has the master key, it has the regular key, and whatnot. So using this account set API or account set operation, you can alter the state or the properties of account. So let me give you an example. Let's go back to here. Let's go to account set, and this page, it talks about what are the different flags or attributes you have on the account. So using this account set, you can change the value of those flags. So let me give you an example. ASF disable master. So in some scenarios, you will have a master key and multiple secondary keys. Okay, so you don't want, for some reason, okay, you don't want that any transaction should be authorized by the master key. Okay, it should be authorized by the standard keys. Okay, so in that case, you can set this flag to, you can disable this flag, and to disable this flag, you are going to use the account set operation. Okay, so this is one example how the account set operation will be used. So it will be used to alter or set values of different attributes which are there at an account level. Okay, next three transactions, they deal with check. Okay, so just like in a traditional banking system, Ripple also support the concept of check. Okay, wherein you have two parties, and one party, the sender, can issue a check for the receiver, and then receiver can cash the check at any later date. Okay, so in some scenarios, the sender and receiver, it is not desirable for them to have the payment instantly. Okay, so maybe the sender will say that, okay, deliver me some services, I will write you the check. Once I receive the service, you can encash the check. So in that case, you can, implement that use case of sending and receiving payment at a later date, okay, based on certain criteria through the concept of check transactions. So in this scenario, you have three different operations to help you implement the check scenario. The first one is you will create a check through check create transaction. So here the sender will create a check in the name of the receiver with the amount and everything. And next is the receiver then can invoke check cash transaction. So that way, after invoking this operation only, the ripple or the XRP will get transferred from the sender to receiver at a later date whenever the receiver invokes the check cash transaction. And in case the sender wants to cancel the check in between, then he can use the check cancel transaction. Okay, so these are the three. And again, I am just giving you a very high level overview. Later on down the line, you will have demos and more details about these transactions. Similar to check, there is escrow facility. Like in the traditional banking system, you have escrow, wherein you have instead of two parties, you have three parties involved. Okay, in the traditional scenario, so you have the sender and the receiver, and then there is the middleman. Okay, which will have the which will act as the escrow. In that scenario, the sender will deposit the money over there, and then the receiver can get the money from the escrow after certain conditions are met. So the same scenario can be applied in the Ripple network as well. So here also there are three types of transaction. One is the create. So you will create an escrow first, then it will get finished, or in the middle it can get cancelled. And again, more details you can find it on the website. So for escrow, you can just go to this link. This is the link. If you click on the diagram, here you can see in the first scenario there is 1000 XRP. There is a escrow create transaction happening. Destination is defined as B, account B, with some expiration. So as soon as this happens, the 100 XRP get deducted from the source, but at the destination. Okay, so Alice and Bob, for example. So from Alice account, you have now 900 XRP. Bob is still having the same 20 XRP. Okay, so 100 XRP are not transferred, but they are sitting in the escrow account. And as soon as then the escrow is released, then Bob will be able to receive that amount and he will see 120. And in between, you can cancel the escrow transaction. So this is what escrow transactions are. Okay. Then there is this third type of transaction called offer. Again, there is offer create and offer cancel. This is mainly used in exchanging currency. Okay, so XRP ledger can be used to exchange different types of currencies. So in the offer create, the sender will create an offer with the exchange rate that I can transfer you X amount of USD at this rate into your currency, and if both the parties agree, they can then execute that offer and transfer the currency at the agreed exchange rate. Next is payment, and this is the most widely used and most important transaction, and for this we are going to see the demo in the subsequent session. So in payment, as the name suggests, you can transfer some amount from one account to other instantly. Okay, so this happens instantly, unlike check or escrow transactions, and it consists of uh, apart from creating the instant payment, the payment transaction also has the concept of channel payment. Okay, so payment is the simple transaction. Send X amount from Alice to Bob. Instantly you can execute that transaction and the transfer will happen immediately within 5 seconds of the XRP transaction XRP ledger completion. But in some scenarios, Alice and Bob, they have some business activity going on between them. Okay, let's say one is Alice is having a company, Bob is supplier to that company, and they agree that okay, Bob is going to provide you some office supply, for example, and those office supply will happen over a period of time. Okay, so in this scenario the payment will happen gradually. Okay, so let's say in the first round there will be 50%, and then there is 25%, and finally 25%. So for this scenario you have the concept of channel payment. So in the channel payment, what will happen is Alice will create a channel, Bob will subscribe to that channel. Okay, Alice will then receive some services from Bob, let's say in the first phase. When he is satisfied, he will put the 50% amount on the channel, and Bob can reclaim that. And then in the second phase he receives further services, and then after receiving the services he put 25% amount. Bob then encashes that, and finally he receives all the services, put the remaining 25%, and Bob receives the final payment, and then the channel is closed. Okay, so for this sort of scenario we have the concept of channel, wherein there is first funding of the channel. So Alice will fund the channel, then there is before funding there is create. So first Alice will create the channel, subsequently he will fund the channel as and when he feels appropriate, and then Bob can claim the amount from the channel as and when there is fund available for Bob to claim. Okay, so these are the transactions related to payment. Okay, the next transaction is set regular key. This is a simple transaction wherein you can create a new regular key. As I mentioned, there is a master key and multiple regular keys. So you can think of it as a disposable key. You can use it for one or more transactions. So as and when you require, you can invoke this set regular key and create a new key. You can also remove or modify an existing key. The next transaction is signer list. This again is related to a scenario wherein you want to have a transaction done by more than one party from the sender side. Okay, and this is this sort of scenario is helpful in a delegation or two-factor authentication or a consensus based transaction. Let me give you an example. So if you want extra security in your transaction, what you can do is you can set a two-factor authentication, wherein for a particular transaction you can say that okay, I have two accounts, I will have this transaction if it is signed by those two accounts. Okay, so in that scenario, let's say you have two accounts. One is in your laptop, another account you configured it in your mobile. Okay, so unless you sign the transaction of transferring XRP from A to B from both the account, the transaction will not complete. This will give you an extra security. For example, let's say somebody hacked into your account in your laptop. If he tries to send some amount from that account into some other account, he won't be able to do that because you set the signer list to be that of two different accounts. So this is how you can implement, n factor authentication. You can have more than two signers. The other way of using the signer scenario is, or having multiple signer to sign the transaction is, let's say there are 3 directors in a company, and for any transaction to happen, 2 of them should agree on that. Okay, so this way, even if one of the director is not available for some reason, 2 of them can sign the transaction, and you'll have the transaction done. Okay, so this is a sort of a consensus based transaction which is happening over here. So this signer list set, this transaction is used to set the signer list, and once you set the signer list, the payment transaction or any other transaction which will happen subsequently needs to get sign from all the signers in the list. Okay, not all. In some scenarios, you will set the quorum, and based on the quorum, if it achieves that quorum, the transaction will be executed. Okay, and finally there is that trust set. Again, this is a transaction to set trust between 2 lines and 2 you say entities or accounts, and once that trust is set, you can do a lot of other transactions based on the trust. So this was the overview of different transaction types. We are going to have demo around, as I said, if not all, most of this transaction type, and in our next session we are going to have a demo on the payment transaction. Thanks a lot for watching.